All right, Robert, what do you got for me with regard to our shoplifting and celebrities?
Well, everybody knows the big Winona Ryder case.
That's the one that comes to mind.
That's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of celebrities shoplifting.
Yeah.
Winona Ryder. We all love her to death, but yeah, that was a little crazy.
She had a problem, right? She was a multiple repeat offender.
Yeah, she was supposedly suffering from like depression, and she had some problems there. I think she was kind of playing around with drugs and stuff too.
She has been accused of using drugs.
Yeah, and she was getting some help and stuff like that in the clinics, but what do you know about the specifics of like how much stuff did she steal? What was it worth? What was her penalty? I mean, I know she got caught.
Right. She was combating depression through stealing, which I should have asked President Obama about that. If that's a good way to deal with depression, is stealing and then feeding the people for stealing. But no, she technically wouldn't fall under the shoplifting category simply because at least the trial that was so publicized involved an amount of goods that reached about $6,000. All right, so that's flat out grand theft. No. What was she in? What movies was she was in? Beetlejuice, right? It seems like
she was in a lot of movies. She was in like 30 movies. But
when we were young, she was
the ones that like I really remember her for were I think Beetlejuice was really cool. I mean she was young. She was just, oh my god, she's so
everyone
cute
loved
back then.
Winona, right? Wasn't there a band,
the
Winona Riders?
Heathers, The Crucible, The Age of Innocence, Girl Interrupted.
Oh, Girl Interrupted.
There's like 30 more. I could never remember all of them.
Right. And her career definitely took a dive after the theft thing and obviously the drug thing.
That's what they say, but I mean, isn't any good news? I mean, isn't any news good news? Like,
I guess.
Whatever they say.
She kind of was the hottest thing on earth, and then she kind of fell out of the public eye. But then she recently did something on Netflix, a show called Stranger Things. I actually watched it. But I don't think she'd be heralded for her acting performance because she really just kind of came across as a little bit strung out. I don't know if she was playing herself. I guess we'll have to see what she does in the future after this semi comeback, But the interesting issue here is the threshold. What makes something shoplifting, and really the term for it is petty theft, at least under Florida statutes, right? If you're defending these types of crimes, generally you want to get a grand theft down to petty theft. Now, you wouldn't be able to do it with $6,000 worth of merchandise unless if you could somehow convince the court or a jury that the value of the items fell under $300. And a good example is this guy Jax from Vanderpump Rules, right? He's this TV reality star, I guess the main guy in the show, and he stole a pair of glasses in Hawaii that were valued at exactly $300. And the question is, well, is that petty theft or is it grand theft? Under Florida law, it's grand theft because petty theft is anything under $300. That'd be $299.
So in other words, you can go ahead, stealing $299 worth of stuff is like no big deal, and just go ahead and do it.
If you want to have a misdemeanor record, but there's definitely a big difference, right? There's a big difference between having a felony on your record and a misdemeanor on your record, right? But theft is no good under any circumstances. But it's a prime example of the type of case where, through some halfway decent lawyering, you'd be able to get this type of offense, a $300 grand theft, knocked down to a petty theft, because the margin there is $1, right? The fair market value of the item.
Right. That's crazy that the courts would consider that, and I mean, as the main factor in what they're going to dish out.
Right. Well, and
like, there's got to be other circumstances. Like, was this person like not in their right mind because they were a little bit drunk and they just weren't thinking about what they're doing? I mean, does that kind of stuff come into play when or is it just the monetary value?
These things could come into play only when you're talking to a prosecutor and you're presenting mitigating circumstances. Okay. Generally, if somebody's so drunk out of their mind, and they do something that's out of character, that may work in negotiating something with whatever jurisdiction. In Broward, that's not really going to get you anywhere in Broward County, where I practice defending crimes here in South Florida. But if you were going to use it as a defense, something like being intoxicated or just not thinking, out of character, so impaired you didn't know what you were doing, or just a mental disorder, now you're basically dealing with the insanity defense, that you were unable to tell right from wrong. And of course, it's not going to work in these grand theft cases when you present an insanity defense to justify somehow stealing. Unless, of course, if somebody has got a well-documented, serious history of mental illness. I mean, it's just not something you see, and the insanity defense works a fraction of the time. When I say a fraction of the time, I mean like under 3%. Okay, you see it in more serious crimes like murders, things like that, but you don't see that defense used in theft cases. But
now, what if there was some type of like emergency, like somebody needing medication and they couldn't get into their bank account or something like that, and
necessity.
They had to have it. Yeah, could that come into play?
Jack, well, using the example of Jack's or Winona Ryder or any other case. Right?
I mean, those were
right. When you're talking about a pair of sunglasses, I don't know how you would be able to establish there's a life or death situation.
No, but like medication.
The sun was so bright.
I know. I'm a vampire.
Exactly. Right. But then you would have been Winona Ryder, right? Stealing a bunch of clothes, cover up, right?
You mentioned Vanilla Ice.
I did, but it was a good question. Necessity is a defense to crimes. You're not going to see that in grand theft cases, except like I could see if somebody stole a fire extinguisher. Right. In a case of a fire extinguisher, it doesn't matter if the fire extinguisher is a $50 fire extinguisher. If you steal it, it's on the wall at some retirement home. If you steal it, that's grand theft because certain things.
How about a $300 fire extinguisher?
Well, it's grand theft either way. It's grand theft either way, right? Things like that's actually enumerated in the statutes, at least in Florida, that doesn't matter how much the fire extinguisher is worth. That's grand theft if you take it. And why? Because what happens if there's a fire? Somebody stole the fire extinguisher.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Prevent people from stealing them.
So Vanilla Ice, he stole a bicycle, a pool heater, and furniture from a neighbor's house. And I think his defense was that it was, or I think he tried to say that it was not inhabited, so therefore he could go in there and help himself to this stuff because nobody owned it, right? Was it something like that?
I'm not sure if he alleged that as a defense. I know that a lot of times these celebrities get away with murder. Sometimes they don't. This was a flat out burglary. It doesn't matter if you go into the home or not, right? If you go onto the curtilage, which is the lawn, and you take something, you're burglarizing a house. And he stole a pool heater and I guess bicycle off the curtilage.
Was he was prosecuted on this though?
He was prosecuted, but I don't know if the charges were dropped or just diminished. I think that the jurisdiction he was in, it carried some weight that the owner of the home really wasn't too eager to prosecute. Vanilla Ice, known for Ice Ice Baby. I think he was accused of ripping off who's a Billy Joel. He's known for being shaken up by Suge Knight and a big feud with Eminem. But the interesting thing about the burglary is, at least we're in South Florida, the amount of resources that we have in our police force devoted to combating burglaries now is astronomical. It's almost to the point where you wouldn't believe it if you saw it in a movie. We have trackers. It's true. Awesome. Trackers being put on cars, and they monitor. If they think that a car is being used to burglarize residences, they'll put a tracker on it. They'll get a warrant, put a tracker on it. And then people generally don't burglarize in the same county. There's a tracker, they're alerted, and through a push notification, I mean detectives, that the car is on the move, it's left the county, and it's driving through residential neighborhoods and stopping in front of houses in a very peculiar manner. They'll then dispatch numerous, and when I say numerous, up to 10 unmarked vehicles, usually rented, at least here in Broward, our special task force, and they will follow this car. And when I say follow, they see it flipping out on.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, that makes me feel better about our where we live. Lauderdale, Broward.
Well, it gets challenging from what I do. And not doing society any favors, as you've said. It becomes challenging to defend people charged with burglary when this particular task force has been on it, because They don't even have to be behind the vehicle. They see it, little blip on almost like a Google map type thing.
Awesome.
Each one has a job to do. There's a move-in team to examine the house after they see that a burglary has taken place. And you know how they see that the burglary has taken place? Because I've left one element out that this task force in Broward County, Florida uses. And that's eye in the sky. They have an airplane where they're beaming down, looking at the
double O.
Yeah, it's so double O. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
That's pretty cool.
It's hard to believe, but
I'm
that's
glad
exactly
our tax dollars are actually going to something useful.
Yeah, officers, Broward County Sheriff's Office had to petition and have these burglaries considered such an intrusive crime that they needed the funding for this. And it's overwhelming the amount of evidence that the state has after something like this. They actually see that the whole thing take place. They've been monitoring the car. They've been following the car. They stop the car with the stolen goods. When I say goods, things taken from the house. And it's interesting.
So Vanilla Ice, he tried to say that he found the stuff on the curb, and the cops basically knew he was full of shit. So he was prosecuted, and he was ordered to pay $1,300 in restitution, and
he was,
and had to complete 100 hours of community service.
Was he? Does the coverage of that say that he pled to the felony?
It doesn't say.
Sounds like it. But
yeah, it sounds like he came to his senses and fessed up. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Well, apparently he used this road crew or whatnot. He was filming a reality show when this took place.
Oh, and he stole the furniture for the set of the reality show.
It's even better than that, right? It's even better because I think the reality show was based on him flipping houses and doing home improvement.
Oh, right. Yeah, because he eventually had to get a day job, and his day job was a home restoration job.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I know he got into motorcycle being like.
You know what's even crazier is out of all the celebrity day jobs, that is of celebrities like on the downhill with their career. It's interesting. David Lee Roth in around the mid '90s. Which was not, I mean, that was just after Van Halen started to kind of, I guess they broke up.
Right. And Sammy Hagar, that was terrible.
Dude, David Lee Roth got a job as an EMT. And this was after he was famous and after he had, after their heyday, shortly after their heyday. He got in, eventually he got trained to become an EMT in New York. And it wasn't even the nicer areas of New York. And he was involved in over 200 cases, and he
was good at it.
He also saved somebody's life who was having a heart attack as an EMT, and this was just like I was saying, just after their high point of their career.
Wow!
Can you imagine David Lee Roth showing up at your house in mid '90s?
I have to think he did this out of some need for some excitement. He didn't need the money because.
Probably. I mean, it sounds like it.
He was kind of showboaty.
Kind of.
He was kind of amazing in Van Halen, though.
Oh my god,
that was a shame when.
Oh, dude.
So he really became an ET. I have not heard that. Wow,
crazy.
Well, Steven Seagal actually, bringing up alternate careers, he either became a police officer or some form of law enforcement, and he did a reality show. But he was acting as an officer. To some extent, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, right.
You're
arrested by Steven Seagal, right?
He
beats you up.
Something like that from Steven Seagal.
Wouldn't it be a weird day? Yes, you would.
Totally.
Right. A lot of controversy surrounding him with regard to violence, domestic violence issues, things like that.
He played a hero in so many movies, a tough guy hero that he would take that attitude into the real world.
Oh yeah.
Try to be like a hero.
Well, it must be. Some people must try you all the time when you're on TV as a.
Oh, certainly.
And he kind of let himself go for a little while. Listen, you mentioned the day as a suspect. You're arrested for shoplifting by Steven Seagal. He beats you up, right, with his Aikido. And then who comes to the scene to render medical aid is David Lee Roth. right? You see more stars that night than if you were at a red carpet event.
Right. So what else we got? Ryan, let's see. Amanda Bynes caught twice in one day. Did I pronounce her name? Her last name?
Yeah. She
caught twice in one day for shoplifting.
Yeah, and that raises an issue. First of all, poor Amanda Bynes. I mean, there's some of the things that she's done led people to believe that she's crazy, right? But aside from what we talked about before, using the insanity offense, because when I say that if somebody's crazy, it doesn't mean that they would meet the criteria to have to use that as a defense, right? So you can't know right from wrong. But what's interesting about this, or in bringing it up and noting it, is that she was caught twice in one day. And if you're going to shoplift and you're going to think about it, you're going to steal items and the value of the items altogether is less than $300, so that you stay in the misdemeanor range, so you don't become a convicted felon. Guess what? If you're a repeat offender on the third one, they're going to charge it as a felony. So first one, second degree misdemeanor. Second one.
Long story short, don't shoplift.
Don't steal.
Don't go steal stuff.
But if you steal,
it's not going to lead to good things.
it could be a silver lining if you get the right criminal defense attorney and you make that kind of mistake. There are diversion programs.
In other words, if you steal something that's worth a lot and you get away with it, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, a diversion program is if you get caught and it's your first offense and it's a misdemeanor, you can go through a program and have the case dismissed. And it's relatively easy. Here in Broward County, it certainly is. I put people through diversion programs all the time that don't want to defend their case. Felonies, and that's stealing something $300 or above, or a fire extinguisher, right?
Right.
If you steal a gun, doesn't matter the value of the gun, right?
Oh, you're going down.
It's a felony. And if you steal a gun during the commission of a burglary, guess what? You've just committed a burglary with an armed... Now check this out.
Okay.
You committed a burglary armed with a firearm.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
But go on.
That's a double whammy. I was just going to ask, do they would the courts handle that felony in the case where somebody stole a gun or used it while they were, stealing, cleaning somebody's house out or whatever? Would they handle that like differently? Or is it just like classified as just felony, same kind of?
Right. That's a good question. If you're burglarizing a house and there's a firearm, an old .22. No ammunition. You throw it in your bag, take it out of the house, drive off. That's a burglary with a firearm. Okay? And now you've used a firearm during the commission of a crime just by possessing it. And then you're in your 1020 life statutes in Florida, whether it's fire used or not. So, and then you see a lot of kids because they cannot resist grabbing that gun. They're burglarizing a house. It's certainly a major crime, burglarizing a house. They take the gun. They can't. It's too alluring. Got to grab it. And now you're into minimum mandatories because 10-20 life is a 10 years, 20 years life. This day for day.
Now,
in prison.
what about if it's a minor who pulls that same stunt?
If it's a minor and they're not direct filed, and the direct filed I mean treated as an adult, then they're going to have a juvenile record, and it's going to be relatively unscathed. Okay, so yeah, if you're going to do this stuff and you do it as a minor, and they treat you as a minor, then you're going to dodge a bullet. Problem is, here in Broward County, we're seeing more and more direct files. We're seeing more and more kids being treated as adults in these situations. So you're a kid, and you get that adult record. You get those adult sentences.
Right. Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
So who else we got here? Britney Spears.
Yeah,
I remember hearing something about that, but I didn't know what she had done. It was pretty minor though, wasn't it?
Well, and I think that's it. I think the thing is with Britney Spears is a good example of stars that have all of this money, and I don't know if it's because they think that no one's going to turn them in for taking stuff.
I mean,
she stole a wig and a lighter. A wig.
And what else? I think there was one other thing that she stole. It was a wig, a lighter, and a hat. Yeah.
She probably did.
It was a hat. Yeah. Oh, and it was at some porn store. It was at a porn shop.
Yeah, right. Well, what happened was...
Oh, you know what? I even heard that she... she went into the dressing room and she was gonna try on some stuff there, and for some
Panties, underwear.
for some strange reason, she was having trouble. So she decided she was just going to go ahead and go out in the middle of the store and try on her outfits in the middle of the store.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
And when the person at the register, whoever was working there, gave her some grief, she threw a little fit, and then she grabbed a bunch of stuff on her way out, including a wig and a hat. Yeah, something like that.
I'm out of here. I.
Can you imagine like just being at some, I mean, at a porn shop? No, but seeing someone like have a big fit and then get naked and change in the middle of the store and then like have a fit and then leave. Like, is that not the most random thing?
That would be random. What would be more random is if a police officer then showed up at Britney Spears' house with a bunch of eggs.
Yeah,
and
then Obama called in a little later and said, congratulate everybody, and said thumbs up.
Nice work.
Yeah.
It was a good job. Just buying groceries is going to help with combating crime. I'll tell you, if Obama wants to talk about theft and congratulate someone for stealing, congratulate Trump for stealing that election, because that was theft right there, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Well, I still can't believe that. I mean, I think the whole world is like in disbelief. But you know what? I think he's going to do a good job, and I think without getting political, in this episode, I would say it seems like people in regards to politics and especially the president, the American people get so sidetracked on everything that the election's not supposed to be about. I mean, it should have been about their qualifications the whole time, and so quickly it was like diverted to all this nonsense. I mean, like Trump kissing and hugging women. I mean, that's like natural. I mean, how often does a girl?
Everybody refer to this
how often do
first episode?
How often will a girl like come up and grab you and hug you and kiss you, and you're like, oh well, I don't know her that well, but it's no big deal,
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
What? Anyway, but no. Rob, thanks. Thanks for being here again.
Thanks
Enjoyed the talk.
For keeping us on the show. I can't believe Obama answered the phone again.
Was that really Obama?
Ridiculous?
Good night, everyone.